Hi everyone. I'm so sorry that I couldn't be with you in person today, but I'm glad that we have this opportunity to talk about school to work all the same. So the transition from school to work doesn't happen in a day. We don't start thinking about it when our kids graduate or when they age out of special education. This is something we should be thinking about regardless of whether your child is 3 years old, 12 years old, 18 years old, 23 years old, or even 35. We're always helping our children become as independent as possible, and working is part of that independence. So, why is work important? Well, according to Employment First, which is a national initiative to look at employment as the first option for people with intellectual and developmental disabilities, well, according to Employment First, people with disabilities are less likely to work and more likely to live in poverty when compared to people without disabilities. Poverty is incredibly limiting, and it limits where you live, how you get places, what you do in your spare time, the number of people you know. Employment not only helps to reduce poverty, but it also gives us independence and control over our own lives. It presents us with opportunities to learn new things, gain skills, and make friends with people we meet through our job. But even more importantly than all of those reasons, the fact is that people with disabilities want to work. Now, when we think about work, we might have an image in our mind. It might be like a sheltered workshop, or it might be working in an office, or it might be the person who bags your groceries at the grocery store. It's important to remember that there are many different kinds of employment. It can be employment in a disability-only setting, again, like a sheltered workshop. It might be micro-enterprise or self-employment, where the person has their own business, but may have people that help them with it. But the real push that we're looking at with employment is something called competitive integrated employment, or CIE. And this is really employment in a setting with people without disabilities and working for real pay. So pay that is at the very minimum wage, as opposed to sheltered workshops where people are paid sub-minimum wages. They're paid less than they would be paid if they didn't have a disability. So there's a real push towards competitive integrated employment because it's the type of employment that can help our kids with independence and also to try and alleviate the issues of poverty. We also know that some people may not want to work for pay, and that volunteering or unpaid work is also an option that we can consider. So, who can help with employment? We fortunately have a number of resources that can help with preparing someone for employment, helping them get a job, helping them on the job. So support isn't only in thinking about employment, but support can be provided all along the way. We start with the schools. employment is something that is looked at as part of an individual's transition plan. Their transition planning starts at age 16 and requires that there be post-secondary goals for after they finish special education, and there should be goals for education and training as well as employment goals, and for some folks that need it, independent living goals as well. So preparing for employment is something that should be part of a student's transition plan. And it's also just very important that students are part of their transition planning, because part of what should be happening is some self-discovery where a student starts to explore different types of jobs, and also that they think about the things that they're interested in and they're passionate about. Job training can take place while a student is in high school. And so, and the job training should be related to their interests. So for example, we knew someone who was interested in working with young children, and her school put her in the head office, the main office at the school. Now, she may have been learning some good skills in the main office at the school, but she was not working with little children. So that was not a good job training placement for her, because she wasn't getting a chance to explore what she felt was important in her life, what she was passionate about. So the schools are one of the resources for helping with preparation for employment. If your child is a regional center client, the regional centers can also be very, very helpful with employment. They can provide things like paid internships, where people have a short-term placement in a business where they can learn job skills and about that business and be paid for their time there. So paid internships are one option. Customized employment, where we're looking at finding a job or helping to develop a job that's going to meet the needs and interests of that individual. If you're in the self-determination program, having employment goals and looking at ways of supporting those goals can certainly be a part of self-determination. It's a good idea to check with your regional center, both talking with your service coordinator about the options that your regional center has, but also looking at their website if you're able to get to their website, because they will have information about their employment supports there. And again, employment supports can go all the way from developing job skills, work skills, through finding jobs, and also supporting people in the workplace if they need a job coach. Another resource that we have is the Department of Rehabilitation, which is a program through the state of California, and their role is to help people with disabilities become gainfully employed and become taxpayers. Yay! And so Department of Rehabilitation can work with the regional center or separately from the regional center, and can provide support for schooling. It can provide support for doing assessments to see where a person's strengths are. They can help with finding jobs, and help also with job preparation skills, things like practicing interviewing and other things that are necessary. So the Department of Rehabilitation is another resource. Another resource that we have is the Social Security Administration. For many of our kids or adult children, they may be on supplemental security income, SSI, or they may be on Social Security disability insurance where they are getting payment because their parent is either retired and paid into the system or is deceased. But the Social Security Administration, while their primary role is to provide a cash benefit, they're providing income to people, not very much, but they're providing income to people. They also have programs that can help people become employed and less dependent on the Social Security Administration. So for example, a lot of people think if you're receiving SSI, you can't work. But in fact, you can. And what you receive from the Social Security Administration will be reduced, but you can still get the benefits from Social Security. Also, Social Security can provide access to Medi-Cal. So for people who are working in a job that does not provide insurance benefits and might still need their Medi-Cal for their health insurance, there's a program called the 250% Working Medicaid program that allows people to buy Medi-Cal so that they can keep their health insurance. So losing health insurance shouldn't be a deterrent to working. And another support that we tend to forget about sometimes is something that we call our circles of support. And these are the people that we network with, that we're friends with, that we're relatives with. They can be terrific job leads. In fact, many of us got jobs through our circle of support. We knew someone who knew about a job that sounded just like something we could be doing, and they told us about it. And so just the same as you or me, for our kids, using those circles of support can be a wonderful way of finding jobs as well. So, what can you do to help your child prepare for employment? Well, we think about both things that the parents can do, but also that our kids can do as well, because this is going to be their employment, so they need to be active participants as well. The first thing that we've always said about transition is transition starts now. And we say the same thing about preparation for employment. Preparation for employment starts now, regardless of the age of your child. So even those of you who have little bitty ones who are 3 or 4 years old, there are things that you can do to help. You're not going to send them off with a little briefcase to work right now, but there are things that you can do with your kids to help them be better prepared when it's time for them to enter the workforce. So the first thing that both parents and kids can do is to learn about transition. Unfortunately, I talk to parents a lot where they say, my child is about to leave their transition program or they're about to graduate from high school and I don't know what's going to happen next. And that always breaks my heart a little bit. That to me is a sign of a failed transition plan, because a good transition plan, you should know exactly what's going to happen as soon as they finish school. But this becomes important for parents to learn about transition so that they can help make sure that there are no surprises and no one is caught off guard. Help your child learn about transition and also about themselves. You're not going to be there when they go for their job interview. So it's important that our kids learn about and can share things like their strengths, also things that they might need help with, what they like, what they don't like, and that they are able to talk about it. I know you all are working on like little one-page profiles. Be sure that you involve your kids in them so that your kids can represent their profile, that they don't just need you to do it. It's important for parents to envision their kids as independent as possible and to have that vision for themselves. One of the ways that I like to help parents do that is by saying, think about your child 5 years ago. What were they able to do? What was hard for them? And now think about them now, and think about how much progress they have made. And there's no reason why our kids are not going to continue to grow and develop and learn new schools. So envision that for your kids. Include your child in their IEPs and preparation for their IEP, and absolutely include your children in their transition planning and preparation for their transition planning. And their ITP, their individualized transition plan. We know that if somebody were to say to your child, any child with or without a disability, at a meeting like this, oh, what are you interested in? The answer is most likely going to be, I don't know. But if we talk with them about it beforehand, they might be able to prepare a statement about what's interesting to them that they can present at the meeting. And so this becomes their opportunity to talk about their hopes and their dreams. Help your child, give your child choices. You know, with a 3-year-old, it might be, do you want to wear this shirt or do you want to wear this shirt? Okay, it's not a life or death choice, but they're learning to make decisions for themselves. What do you like about this shirt? Oh, it has my favorite superhero on. I don't know any of the superheroes. It has my favorite superhero on it. But give them choices. Give them choices about what they want to eat, who their friends are. Helping our kids with choices helps them to develop a lot of these independent skills. We also want to help your child explore and identify interests and dreams. And even if your child's dreams seem unrealistic, it's important to know what they are because they can provide avenues for future work. So if we have someone who says, oh, I want to be a police officer, and we know it just isn't going to be possible for them to be a police officer, we might want to explore with them, what is it about police officers that you like? Oh, I like uniforms, okay? Or I like helping people. Or I want to be able to blow a whistle. Well, if they like uniforms, there are lots of kinds of jobs that have uniforms. And so they can get the thing that they're really interested in without having to be a police officer. If they like helping people, there are a lot of jobs where you get to help people. So you don't have to be a police officer in order to help people. But thinking about dreams and interests and then exploring them can help find possible jobs that we might never have thought of otherwise. And we want to allow our kids to stretch, to do things that might be hard for them or to make mistakes. There's something that we call the dignity of failure, which sounds kind of weird, but basically what it means is one of the ways that we learn and develop and grow is by trial and error, and sometimes making mistakes and learning from those mistakes. If we are only given easy things to do, then we don't learn some of those problem-solving skills, and we don't necessarily know how to deal with unexpected things happening. Now, most of us have tried things that we weren't very successful at, and it's been to our advantage. It may have felt crummy at the time, but it's to our advantage. It helps us to grow and develop. And we want to give our kids that opportunity as well, because by making mistakes or trying hard things and then maybe having to go back and try it again, and then maybe having to go back and try it again before we're able to do it, helps develop important skills for our kids. So when we think about transitioning from school to work, it's not quite that scary, because we're not going to think about it on the day that they graduate. We're going to think about it today, and we're going to work it into all of the things that we do with our kids to help them become as independent as possible. So thank you for your time.